We've got Jessica Jones and James Dumb from Chroma Donna. This is Creative
Hi.
Broomfield Summer Concert Series presenting
Thanks for
Chroma
having
Donna.
us.
Oh, we're really excited to have you. Um, I've been dying for live music, so we're thrilled to get some bands in there and make some people happy. Um, this is kind of the pandemic edition, so we're doing it, virtually so that we're not all like this. So, um, well, let's start with the basic question. Everybody's been asked this, but it's informative anyway. What got you into music? Who got you into music? Who inspired you to get started?
You want to start?
Sure. Um, I had a couple family members, I guess, that I knew that initially kind of inspired me. I had a an uncle and then my dad's cousin who I also called an uncle. So kind of two uncles that were the two guys, at least when I was young, that I knew that played guitar, and they were both in addition to my mom and dad, but the two of them in particular, they were like the cool relatives that hit me to some music. I got my cassette that was Stevie Ray Vaughan on one side and Eric Clapton on the other, things like that.
You're a goner right from the get go.
Yeah, pretty much. And like I said, that's not even including my dad's collection and my mom's stuff, which they both had awesome music collections. So
Okay. What about you, Jessica?
My parents were both musicians, and I grew up in a musical household. My early influences were Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Funkadelic and Parliament, James Brown. So when I actually started writing beats before I started singing, and played piano as a kid. We've got my Hammond behind us. Um, but eventually I just got into playing with bands. The hip hop industry didn't pay very much. And I had a contract that didn't get renewed with Universal Records. So I started singing with bands, and here I am years later playing with as many people as possible, which is part of how we wound up with Chroma Donna the way it was. We started with a few songs that I had written years ago and done scratch tracks and demos of, and brought them with a beat machine or with the organ to him, and he would finish the songs, and then eventually we would take those to some really incredible musicians, and that's how we wound up with so many musicians on our album.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, we
Or-
were we were curious about that. We kept trying to decide what style of music it was. It's like it's not one
Right.
style. There's a
No,
whole
and the
gumbo of
songs been
flavors in there.
yeah, they were written over so many years. I think that they just all were different styles, and depending on who we had play on them, they lent their own style to it as well.
It's kind of nice. It gives you a chance to have a slightly different live experience from the CD experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Every time. Yeah, and it's always fun to switch up the lineup.
So is this
We have
kind of typical of your normal style of music? You mentioned you're in multiple bands. I think you're both in multiple bands. In fact, I know you're both in multiple bands. Um,
yeah.
would you say this is kind of representative of your style, or is it kind of a side project or alternate project to your normal sound?
What do you think?
I mean, I think it's kind of like it's like our sound. Like to
Yeah.
me, like there's certain groups or music or styles. Even if you were to go back to classic rock, there's things that I feel like can almost be. I guess it's almost like the term neo soul. Kind of, it's almost like you can have things about it that are throwback, but also things that are not like futuristic, but like on our record, for example, there's plenty of stuff that we even fooled one of the mastering engineers. He thought it was a drum machine, but it was actually Cody. It's things like that where it was like that we were kind of trying to, if how do we make the sound of the beat with the band, or how do we make the band sound like a beat? It's kind of it went both ways, and I think that the music came out that way to where it doesn't matter if it's electronic or if it's a band or if it's a sample, because like Jess mentioned, there's plenty of songs. Oh yeah, she's got the beat machine.
We
right
actually
here.
did sample this.
Okay.
On She Steals You. We
Mhm.
tracked the entire beat in sound by sound and rebuilt the beat and then tracked the instruments over
Yep.
that.
That's great.
And Josh, obviously,
Thanks.
we're to the point where now we got to mention Josh
Fairman. Yeah, we
He's a
basically
master.
spent 2 years in the studio with him, producing it, because we only spent like maybe 3 days recording the album, but
here and there, yeah.
and he's so busy. But we wanted to work on that with him, and we really got to go in and make everything sound the way we wanted it to sound. And you're right, it does touch on a few different genres, I think. But that's like all part of it being its own organic thing. We weren't setting out to make something that all sounded like a specific. I think a lot of people do set out to have a sound before they actually just write the song.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, and we just wanted it to sound fun. We're all from jam bands. It's a big jam scene in Colorado, and this all worked out basically like a jam album, but it's like a neo soul version of that. But it's the musicians themselves are from some of the best jam bands
Mhm.
in the state. So
Definitely. So,
ironically,
we're talking about using technology as part of your craft and your art. How has the pandemic changed that? Has it increased your use of
wow.
technology, reduced it?
Oh, both. For me, in the beginning, I was doing a lot more streaming. Um, and then he also, I think, has been doing a lot more streaming. It's interesting though how we've been coming back to larger venues with a limited capacity and with the streaming option. I've done that for New Conscious. We did that at the Ford Amphitheater in Vale,
The Villar Center.
where they like have the streaming is built in part of it so that other people can enjoy it, but then they also have ticketed the limited capacity.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. So, have you noticed it changing the way you collaborate with other players? Like people are not available, so you're doing Skype jams or something. I know some of that technology is kind of right on the cusp and starting to come out. Not with Skype, but there's a couple of different services that do that. I was wondering if you'd seen those or tried them.
Not me personally. I quarantined really hard in the beginning and have been collaborating with other musicians who did the same thing. So I have actually had the pleasure of playing with some really wonderful musicians during this time and have been writing a lot. James has also been really busy he's in several bands still that are still being paid to perform. So he's been really busy.
Knock on wood. I think we're, both, we've been fortunate that way. I think what you said kind of about the experience changing it. I kind of like finally bit the bullet and was like, all right, well, I got to get some home recording stuff. I got to get this figured out, not knowing, what else was going to go on. Cause my preference in the past has been to work with people like you or Josh or, it's kind of like I'm old school in that way that I'm like, well, these guys are experts at that. And I know that they're always going to be better at engineering than, anything that I can do trying to sit here and figure it out on my own. But, it's like the ability to be at home and to really like dig into it and learn is awesome too. So I think that's if there's any silver lining, that's like one for me. But also I think with the streaming and like she mentioned with like the bigger venues, it's kind of bringing up the similar debate, to like, you have your Spotify, your streaming, and then you have like a piece of vinyl in your hand. And they're both equally as important, equally valid in this day and age. So I can't go into the argument about how people get paid because we all know that's a slippery slope. But I think that the limited capacity and the streaming thing does kind of it's kind of highlighting with people, hopefully, the importance of live music. And it's something that, like, you know, being able to see the stream is amazing for the people that can't go out and are trying to be safe, or they just can't be where the show is.
Right.
You know, I think the fact that the streaming is picking up steam is amazing, but I also think it is kind of highlighting the fact that you can't really replace seeing the music in person, you know.
It
it's
almost
it's
kind
a
of puts
it,
a premium on the live experience.
I
exactly.
agree. Well, and that's like the one way though that they can have venues open, for instance, that are 3,000 person capacity, but be limited to 175 people. They can stream it to their larger crowd that would have attended. Um, the pandemic is really making it hard for a lot of people to make money. You know, it's really scary to think of how many venues are having to close their doors permanently. We've been active in trying to get people involved with Save Our Stages, um, any sort of legislation act that can help provide some funding for these venues. We've worked for a lot of these people for decades, and it's such a heartbreak to see some of them go out of business entirely. I don't know how personally I would be able to keep my doors open after 6 months, you know, so I
Yeah.
understand, but it's still devastating. And there's so many historical and cultural icons within our society that are just like getting lost right now. And I'm really hoping that we can keep some of them around that we still play in, or we
Yeah,
were.
it's not just the musicians, you know, there's you know, the owners, there's the staff, the cooks. I mean,
Hmm.
there's this whole
Mhm.
support infrastructure that's
It's a $1 trillion a year industry, and it's being overlooked, unfortunately. And that money adds up and it goes back into other industries within this country. And it's important for us to remember that.
yeah, you know, every dollar you spend out at a venue ends up circling back around multiple times.
Exactly. Exactly. It goes
Yep.
into the
Yep.
pockets of, you know, the local economy every time. So we're hoping to see a lot of these places be saved. And it's interesting how they've worked around it, you know, being able to provide food and take out beverages and like limited capacity at higher prices. I played a show down in Florida and they were charging like $150 a table because that's the only way that they could keep the doors open with such a limited capacity. And it makes sense, and it makes it elite, but that same place was broadcasting the same show for free right out in their beer garden so that people who couldn't get inside were able to still basically see the show, and they
That's
live
great.
streamed it, you know. So I mean, people are looking out for each other.
Um, Curious if either of you have ever been to the Broomfield Auditorium, or if this is going to be your first time.
It'll be my first time, I think.
Yeah, as far as I know, it'll be my first time there also.
Okay, great. Well, you'll have to let us know what you think once you've been there.
I'm
and
excited.
rock the show for
Arena
us.
Rock Show.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna bring the dry ice and the dragon balloon.
No pyrotechnics, please. um, let's see.
That's
Who
you
do you guys want to
guys.
collaborate with? Do you have any collaborations on the horizon? You know, with or without this band? Just, you know, some shout outs.
You can go first. James has been joining bands like all pandemic.
Well, you know, Jess, you know, she actually had a song come out around the time of the George Floyd tragedy. And is the band officially called? Is it Bandemic?
No, we found out that that name was
Pandemic.
being used by some people who are a lot more famous than us. But I've been playing with Dave Watts from the Motet and
Yep.
Casey Russell and Marcus Rezak and some other really incredible bass players and Dwayne Adams and some other people all summer. And we've been writing and collaborating, obviously. I just played on Sunday with Jason Han from String Cheese Incident and Chuck Morris from Lotus and some people that were just a joy to play with. And I've been collaborating with people a lot, like a dream team collaboration. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I'm
It almost
definitely, I listen to more R&B, hip hop, and soul. Like, so
It almost seems like some of those people may be more available now because of the pandemic. They would be out touring
Exactly.
otherwise or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's musicians making money like doing, hey, what's up? This is so and so from Jam Band B.
Hey, well,
Cameo. It's all. I mean,
cameos-
it's amazing.
Oh yeah, make money where you can get it, baby. Make money where you can get it right now. Yeah, I mean, we're having to pivot. Everybody's having to pivot.
Yep.
And yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Is you can get these dream team lineups right now because everybody is meleeed. We're all on a desert island, you know. Unfortunately, nobody's able to do their big festival schedule for the summer. So and Colorado has been a magnet for incredible musicians for a long time, but more so in the last like 5-10 years. And we have just some insane musicians here now that are completely willing to work with each other, and the collaborations. They say that the Renaissance was born out of the Black Plague.
And you stole the word I was waiting to say.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Renaissance. Yeah, that was the COVID Renaissance.
Yeah, we're seeing like, because I mean, I've had this conversation with Dave Watts a few times over the summer that you know, we are all so used to being on the road and in our schedule and with our bands and whatever tour and road schedule that you have, and it's work, you know, it's beautiful and we love it, and this is like all any of us ever want to do ever, to the extent where like after we all quarantined for a good like 6 weeks, we were all getting back together and writing, because we as human beings can't function without making noise like that with each other. It's just, we need that. So he was saying, you know, it's interesting that we're able to do this. It's like being a kid again, you know. And ultimately we're all starting to get busy again, and we're all starting to almost miss the time that we had to do that, because life is slowly coming back to the music industry. I have some friends in other states right now getting their weekly gigs back. So I don't know how soon that will happen in Colorado. Obviously not very soon, but you know, it's starting to happen, and you can just hope and dream. Can't be over.
Some of these questions I didn't write, but I think they're great anyway, so I'm going to ask them. If your fans remember only one thing about you, what would it be?
Oh wow. The music. You know, if that's like a existential thing, that's all you got, you know. Think any you know, we have the luxury now, we're so far away from what people call like classic era, I guess, of, you know, of pop music or whatever, but that stuff's going to last forever, no matter what else you can say about any of those artists. That's all we're going to have left, you know. Enough time's going to go by where that's all that's going to be there. So
the Ice Dragons are gone, huh?
Yeah.
Pyrotechnics.
Well, after Gene Simmons is gone, people will still remember his boots, his dragon boots.
There you
go.
Or
Roger Waters' flying pig, right? Or Spinal Tap, you know, getting stuck in the pod. No, it's the music.
It's the music. Yeah. What would you say is the best song you've ever released?
I'll let you do this one.
It's hard, right?
I don't know.
Narrowing it down to one.
I think on the Chroma Donna album, maybe Home by Dawn is probably a pretty.
It's the first one we wrote together.
Classic tune, yeah. Wow, why is that such a hard question to answer?
I don't know. Some of those, like, what's your favorite food? All of it.
Yeah, mine always rotates. Like even records that I've loved since I was a kid, I feel like my favorite song rotates around. You know.
Yeah.
But I'd probably agree with Home by Dawn, just because it was like the first one that we put together.
Yeah. I really like She Steals You on that album too, and Lady Levitate.
Yeah, that one was speaking to me when I heard it last.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and then the remixes are always really fun. The Forever Friend Trap remix is definitely like
I don't know if you
has
know.
my heart.
Do you know Jordan
Jordan
Polavina
Polavina.
personally?
Yeah, Jordan did one of those, right? So
Yeah, we were
where was
talking
the
about that.
original mix? If the remix ended up on the album, where's the original?
They're both on there.
They're both on. They're
Oh,
both on there,
Okay.
but all the remixes. I guess if it's in sequence,
They're all at the end.
yeah, the remixes are all at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I didn't do my research apparently well enough.
No,
I'm one
but
of those people where I could quote you the melody, but I can't remember the song titles to save my
I'm
life.
the same way. Or I know the chords, but I don't know which, which song it is.
Right? Just need a little trigger.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, kind of out of time here, but thank you guys for spending a few minutes and giving us a little more info about what we're going to see and experience. Can't wait to put this out. I will have to double check the release date. I don't have that detail handy, but we're going to do a live crowd for the show.
Oh,
do you
cool.
know how many people you're able to bring? Have we figured that out?
I've been trying to get like actual RSVPs.
RSVPs.
We have 20 tickets.
Oh, okay.
So
awesome.
I've been trying to get people to commit like RSVP style. So we'll have a hard number for you maybe later today, hopefully.
Okay, get an SPL meter
and you want
to make sure they can scream loud enough to make the cut.
Okay,
right.
Perfect. And then do you want everybody's names individually, like in an email, or should I text it to you?
Either way is fine.
Okay.
Cool. It's just so, if somebody, God forbid, did come down with COVID and we had to do contact tracing, we have a way of
Have you talked to Joe? Do you know? I saw did he
no, I haven't. I should.
Yeah, he left for Dockside this morning with Johnny.
So Joe will not be there.
But hey, they're going to Dockside. You can't fault them there, right?
Yeah,
Right.
no, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I'll try and get with you later today and rally up everybody's names.
Great. Thank you both so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Chris. We really appreciate you.
Can't wait.
Yep,
This will be the second time we've played this lineup for most of the records. So
yeah, it's interesting, especially when you're in multiple bands. It's almost like you cut a record per band and then move on and keep evolving with your sound.
Yeah, you try.
Play that other record you guys did. It's like, oh, well, let me reassemble that band real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we couldn't even do that recording it. That's why there's 4 bass players on it.
Been there.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Thanks, Chris.
Great. Well, I got to run, you guys. Thanks a lot.
Have a great
thanks
day.
again.